Good morning, everybody. How y'all doing? Thumbs up. We got a thumbs up back there from Rachel. Nice. Anybody else got a thumbs up or a side thumbs? Okay. You don't have to be doing like awesome. You could even do this if you want. Totally fine with that. We got dogs out here today too. Yeah, and I think there's a birthday out here today too somewhere. Some guy named Matt, I heard. Right, Matt? It's your birthday? Yeah. All right. We're like the same age, so I can't make fun of him. Hey, we could like sing for you. You want to? You guys want to sing happy birthday to Matt? Yeah, let's do it. Okay, ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Matt. Happy birthday to you. Woo! All right, everybody give him a pat on the back at some point. Well, good morning. Like I said, it's always great to see you guys. There's some changes that have happened around here. You might want to take a look. There's some hanging basket garden stuff going on over here, and then behind the barn, there's even more. So I don't know. Are you going to share about that at all, Jeremy? Should I share a little bit right now? He's going to share a little bit, but some fun stuff going on for the community. So it's good to see you all here because you're all a part of that. So today is going to be a fun service. We're going to talk a little bit about intergenerational engagement and how it's important for us to be able to learn from every type of age group that's out there. Have you ever noticed, like, there's a time, I know there was a time in my life when I was, let's say, when I was in middle school kind of age, or we called it junior high back then, so there's a dating method for you. And I remember, like, seeing my parents, they were probably, like, in their late 30s, and I was like, wow, that's really, really old. Like, I saw that as, like, this almost ancient in my mindset at the time. And now that I'm way past that age myself, I don't know, I still feel like I'm kind of young. So you have these differing perspectives in whatever times you go through in seasons in life. But I think the key thing to hold on to through all that is always a willingness to learn and always a willingness to engage and see those different perspectives that are surrounding you from the different experiences they've gone through. So that's always a good thing to celebrate. Today, the first song that we're going to be doing is called For Everyone Born, and it talks about this throughout. So if you guys want to get if you have the words, there's printed copies, and then you can also go to thegrove.today right there if you want to get them on your phone and follow along that way. So you guys ready to go? All right, give me a hoo-ha if you're ready. Okay, that works. For everyone born, a place at the table. For everyone born, clean water and bread. A shelter, a space, a safe space for glory. For everyone born, a star overhead. God will delight. We are creators of justice and joy, compassion and peace. God will delight when we are creators of justice and joy. For genders diverse, a place at the table, revising the roles, deciding the share, with wisdom and grace, dividing the power. For genders diverse, a system that's fair. God will delight. And God will delight when we are creators of justice and joy, compassion and peace. Yes, God will delight when we are creators of justice and joy. For young and for old, a place at the table, a voice to be heard, a part in the song, the hands of a child in hands that are wrinkled. For young and for old, the right to belong. Yeah. And God will delight when we are creators of justice and joy, compassion and peace. Yes, God will delight when we are creators of justice and joy. For gay and for straight, a place at the table, a covenant shared, a welcoming space, a rainbow and gender and color, for gay and for straight, a chalice of grace. And God will delight when we are creators of justice and joy, compassion and peace. Yes, God will delight when we are creators of justice and joy. God will delight. Yes, God will delight when we are creators of justice and joy, compassion and peace. Yes, God will delight when we are creators of justice and joy. Everyone born, for everyone born, a place at the table, to live without fear and simply to be, to work, to speak out, to witness and worship. For everyone born, the right to be free.
On. Hello? Am I muted? Oh, okay, now we're going. I have my sunglasses on so I can't see this little green light that's on here. Good morning. Kids, you're not in the front, you're in the back. Good morning. Oh. Oh no. Adults, you're finally going to have to step it up and bring the energy that the kids are too distracted to bring.
They've been muted.
They've been muted. Good morning. My name is Jeremy. I'm the pastor here of the Grove, Cottage Grove. And oh my goodness, it is so good to be with you on yet another beautiful Sunday morning. We are a church that exists to grow goodness. And so we hope that you're being here this morning, you're potentially watching us online, you're interacting with us sometime during the week, you may be planting garden beds in the back, literally growing things. That our hope is that somehow in just your interacting with us, there's goodness growing in and through you. When we're inside, we often have these paper handouts. We put several things in your hands. We go a little bit paper light while we're outside. And so I do want to touch on a couple logistics before we get into the rest of the service. Number one is we're outside. There are bathrooms that are inside, however. The building is open. If you need a bathroom, and it's through those doors and on the right-hand side. Children, obviously the kids are already at play back there. We do not have children's programming throughout the summer to be able to give our volunteers a break and also to be able to let the kids run free and enjoy this beautiful outdoor space as Archer runs that way, which is a reminder, if you are a parent of a young child, we do not have eyes on your kids, so maybe you can have eyes on your kids too. That's our property. They're welcome to go over there, but just make sure they're not like running in the street or something, right? We do also have a nursery available inside. It is not staffed throughout the summer. However, it is open. It's got tons of fun stuff for little kids in there, and it also has a live stream so that if you have to go in there with one of your little ones, you are able to still kind of keep up with what's going on during the service. Also, if you are here and you, want us to know that you are here, or if you have information about the church, questions that you have, or specific things that you're wanting more information about. One, if you have this lyrics page pulled up, there is a button on there for you to be able to click and fill out a form to let us know you're here and then request any information. We do have these inserts that usually get in your hands. They are available over at that first table. If you're not wanting to fill something out on your phone, but you want to let us know you're here or request information, those papers are available over there. There's also links for giving on that same page as well. Also, at the top, there are the 3 announcements, the 3 most important things for you to know that we really want to key you in on this month. I'm not going to go into all the details. We will hit those details at the end, but if you want to look at some of those details now, if you click on those things, it will bring you to a page that shows you more information. So if you get bored while I'm talking later, you're more than welcome to go to that. But like I said, we are not here to talk about logistics. We are gathered in order to connect with one another and connect with God. And so I'm going to stop talking and allow you to talk to one another. And what we're going to do now is what we call connection point, where we give you the opportunity to connect with somebody next to you, introduce yourself, and then we give you a discussion question for you to be able to discuss with the person that you are connecting with. So today, as I mentioned, or as Grant mentioned earlier, we're talking about intergenerational community and the importance of being able to connect with people who are of various different ages than ourselves. And so today's question is about a time or a place or maybe a specific lesson that you learned from someone who was not a part of your generation. So if you are a younger person, maybe you have an older person in your life that was really meaningful to you or taught you a very important lesson. Or if you're an older person, maybe you have like a 4-year-old in your life that taught you something very important about life, and that was very meaningful to you. So again, I'm going to have you stand up, find somebody next to you that you don't know or don't know very well, introduce yourself, and then discuss that question, and we will reconvene in just a couple minutes.
Okay. Who's got the best one? Subjective. All right. Well, I think one thing that came out of our little convening up here that we did as a music group is we talked about how, I think for us, have you guys noticed that, like, if someone older than you is trying to teach you how to do something, sometimes you're in a place where it's harder to receive it, but when somebody younger than you, like, says something to you a certain way, it just kind of clicks. Have you guys ever noticed that? It's interesting how that is. Well, it just kind of shows how at different times in our life we need those different voices from whatever generation it might be, younger, older, same, peer. It's I can think of many times in my life looking back where you had those poignant moments and you just needed to hear it in a certain way where normally you wouldn't hear it. So, good stuff, huh? Well, I wanted to share a song with you guys today that I brought to the table. It's a song that has helped me throughout my life. Before I was involved, some of you were here when I shared the messy stories of faith there in the building in, what was that, February? And I talked a little bit about my story and kind of the background that I came from. It was a very fundamentalist, kind of far right-wing type Christian community, but it was also very controlling. And one common denominator from that experience to today has always been my love of, well, certain songs, but the music of U2. And one of the songs we're going to share today is called 40, which is based on Psalm 40. And I can remember in some of my kind of dark moments back in those days when I felt like I was trapped in this church that I was involved in at the University of Minnesota, this was kind of like a guiding light for me, because it's, the words are out of Psalm 40, and it's like you're being rescued out of this pit that you can't get yourself out of. Have you guys ever felt that before, where you feel like you're just trapped? And I know it's, a lot of times the feeling is stronger than reality, because really all you have to do when you're trapped in a location, in a place, is just walk out, right? It seems so simple, but our mind creates all these different obstacles where it seems like it's impossible. So I just want to encourage you, if you're ever feeling that as we sing this song, sit back, wait patiently, let love, let the guiding light that's around you, the people that you know care about you, those relationships that you invest in, let them pull you out of that and give you a new song to sing. All right. Awaiting patiently for the Lord, He inclined and heard my cry. He lifted me up out of the pits, out of the miry clay. I will sing, sing a new song. I will sing, sing a new song. How long to sing this song? How long to sing this song? How long, how long, how long, how long to sing this song? You set my feet upon a rock and made my footsteps firm. Many will see and hear. I will sing, sing a new song. Oh, I will sing, sing a new song. Yeah. How long to sing this song? How long to sing this song? How sing this song. Sing this song. If it's one of those songs that gives you joy, a theme in your life that's filling you up right now, just keep singing it, right? But if it's one of those songs that's dragging you down, you don't have to sing it anymore. You can sing a new song. So just a reminder for you all today as we continue in worship.
Got to mention earlier that Katie Eckeberger, our worship arts, still figuring out this mic, folks. Our worship arts director, Katie Eckeberger, she moved to Cottage, her and her family moved to Cottage Grove last week. Woohoo! They spent the week slowly getting settled in. Then their pod arrived on Thursday and have spent the next several days settling in that stuff. And we decided she needed the weekend off. So the Eckebergers are at home relaxing, maybe watching us online, maybe not. Maybe they're just relaxing without that. But fortunately, we have talented people like Grant and Andrea and Anna who have done this stuff before in other places. So it's great to have a growing community with gifted people who are able to do this type of work. So I'm going to have you give a hand to our three worship leaders up here today too, because it's pretty fantastic to be able to go from someone as talented as Katie to other people who are also very talented in her place. Pretty great. So today we are starting a new worship series that we are going throughout the month of June. And our worship series for the month of June is called Mosaic. When we are planning worship series, there's a few different things that we want to consider as we're choosing what we are wanting to talk about for any period of time. And that is like, hey, what do we actually care about talking about as pastors? We're not going to choose something that we're not really excited about talking about. There's, hey, what does our community, what do we feel like our church community needs to hear in this time as well? And then there's this third consideration of how are we trying to form people? Like what are the practices or what are the values that we are wanting to instill and reinforce in our people? And how can we use a worship series, a dedicated amount of time to be able to reinforce or teach on those things? Another thing that is happening at this very moment, though, is one of our strategic initiatives for the year that lands on my shoulders as one of the three pastors of the Grove as a whole is to figure out a rhythm for types of worship series for every single year. And so it's like, well, what are the types of things that we want to be emphasizing every single year? And when do we want to be emphasizing those types of things? So as it turns out, June, at the beginning of summer, is going to be one of these times when we spend the month of June talking about and reinforcing and just kind of digging in the depths of our values as a church and say, all right, we talk about these things all the time, but what do we actually mean when we talk about them? What does it look like for us to actually do these things that we say we highly value? So that's what this series Mosaic is all about. Mosaic, this series that we're going just this month of June, is leaning into our value of expanding our circle of inclusion. You often hear this from me every week, at least once. It's in those worship handouts. It's all over our website. It's on the wall in the commons area. We're constantly putting this in front of you. And yet we wanted to spend 4 weeks to say, all right, what do we actually mean when we talk about expanding our circle of inclusion? When we say we want to grow both in number and in kind, what on earth are we talking about? What does that growth look like? How do we actually go about doing this? And so we're going to spend the next 4 weeks talking about the different groups that we're trying to expand with. And next week is Pride Sunday, woohoo! So we're be talking about the LGBTQ community. And in 2 weeks, we're going to be talking about different abilities. And then in 3 weeks, we're going to be talking about racial inclusion and justice. Today, however, we're going to kick it all off with intergenerational ministry. The thing about mosaics, are you familiar with mosaics? What a mosaic is? This is where having a big screen behind me is really helpful, and I have to paint the picture for you instead of showing you up on the screen. A mosaic, if you're unfamiliar with it or if you just need to get it back in your mind again, a mosaic is a piece of art that's made up of a bunch of seemingly random pieces. They might be different types of materials, they might be different colors, different shapes, and yet they are, if the artist is doing his or her job well, they're organizing them meticulously, tediously, taking the time and energy and investment to do this messy work of bringing all of these seemingly random things together and making this beautiful picture as a result. And so as we think about expanding our circle of inclusion in these different areas, we want to be thinking about this work as like mosaic work, that it is tedious, that it is hard, that it is meticulous, it takes time and energy and investment, but if we're doing it well, the end picture is going to be really beautiful. And the process is hopefully really beautiful too. So that's the one picture that's maybe a little bit more difficult to imagine without being on a screen behind me. The second image that I want you to have in your mind today, though, as we talk about and think about intergenerational community, is of a tree. I have a feeling you might have a little bit better idea of how to imagine a tree as we're standing out here in the Grove, as the church, the Grove, surrounded by all these beautiful trees. So I want you to think about the church, the big church, as a tree. A tree is a living organism. A tree is not a piece of, it's not a stone, it's not a pillar, it's not this monolith thing that is just as it is, unchanging, like one flat piece. A tree is an organic thing that has many different pieces, and all of those pieces are important to the life of the thing. And if any of those things are out of whack, if any of those pieces are not in place, it is detrimental, it impacts, it makes the life of the tree that much more difficult or unlikely even. So as you think about the life of the church being like a tree, I want to raise up two facts to you also about the life of the church as a whole. Number one is that the church as a whole, especially in the United States, is in decline. The majority of churches in our country, and largely in the Western Hemisphere, are small and getting smaller and are getting older. This is not something new. This trend has been happening at least for 25 years as you look at all of the study, all of the data. Fewer and fewer people are participating in organized religion, which means these churches are getting smaller because fewer people are participating in them. And among those shrinking churches, the percentage of people within those churches, the age range within those churches is getting higher, which means these smaller churches are slowly getting older and older. Now, ministry to specific groups of people, and even and especially around generational difference, like that's important, and that can be really helpful, right? Because as we're in different generations, we have different needs. I'm not talking about that. What I am instead talking about is the slow decline over time that is not paid attention to, and all of a sudden you notice something as you look at the tree. The roots might be really strong, right? They might be really big trees that have been there for a long time and have potentially a lot to contribute. But then as you look at the branches and the limbs, over time, they slowly seem to be getting thinner and thinner and thinner. If it's a flowering tree, you might notice year over year that there are fewer and fewer leaves and fewer blooms. And as you see those things happening, what you are noticing is that the life and vitality of that tree, even as the roots are there and the roots are strong, the life and the vitality are slowly draining out of it. That does not speak very well for the long-term health of a tree, right? It also does not speak very well for the long-term health of a church. Can we agree on that? This is a problem. So that is one thing to acknowledge that's going on. There is, however, another thing that is going on, and largely it is in response to this thing. So there are people who have said, you know, that is a problem, and so what we need to do is we need to start new churches or completely reorganize the churches we have around attracting the young people at all costs. I have had pastors tell me, this is not a joke, straight out of their mouths, that we need to attract young people. And in order to do that, again, this is straight out of people's mouths, straight out of pastors' mouths. Our competition is not other churches. Our competition is the Mall of America and Netflix. And so what we need to do to get the young people is to be as entertaining as the Mall of America or Netflix. And if that is your focus, if that is your investment, like you reap what you sow, right? Talking about growing things. If that's what you want to invest in and try to get out of, many of the churches that make that investment, they try to attract, they do all the things to attract the young folks, the youths. They have young churches. Many of them have lots and lots of young people in them. And yet what they are often missing are, they have all these young people, but they're missing the older generations. So if you think about a tree, from the outside, these might look like a vibrant, flowering tree, right? All of these beautiful leaves, all these beautiful blooms in the spring, and yet it's like a tree that's like leaning over like this because the roots haven't been established. And as vital and vibrant as it looks, because the roots aren't there, that doesn't speak very well to the long-term viability of this tree, does it? And it doesn't speak very well to the long-term viability of a church, does it? Can we agree that this is a problem? Yes, it is a problem. Who's depressed? There are many people who look at these studies, look at these churches, both those who are declining and those that are seemingly thriving. They look at these trees and their current situations and say, this is depressing. I don't know what to do about this. Maybe we should just give up on it. I am here to give you good news. It does not have to be this way. And the other good news, it has not always been this way. 2,000 years ago, the earliest followers of Jesus who were starting the church from just a handful of people, from the very beginning, they recognized that they needed to expand their circle of inclusion, including around generational community. From the very beginning of the church, they understood that this was a need. And what it meant was, even though it was hard and meticulous work that they had to pay attention to, it has meant that in some capacity, the church, in all its messiness, has continued for 2,000 years. So one of the first people that understood this and got this and went about this planting work of these types of churches was a guy named Paul. Paul and I have a great many disagreements on a great many things, but Paul was a really helpful person in the history of the church. Paul initially was not a follower of Jesus. He actually was pretty set against those who were following this Jesus character. He was one of the persecutors of them, oversaw some of their deaths even, and yet at some point he had this experience of the love of Jesus and the grace of God for himself, and it was so compelling, so exciting that he couldn't keep it to himself. And so what this Paul did was he ended up traveling throughout the Roman Empire, almost across the whole Roman Empire, stopping in individual towns and cities and planting churches. But as he did this, he did not set himself up as leader. Instead, what he did was he went into those towns and he found other people who could lead. He found the village elders who had the experience, who had the expertise, who had the stories, who had the deep roots of resilience over decades, gave them authority, and also raised up younger leaders who had the energy maybe to be able to go out and grow this thing even more. working on both of those things at the same time. And fortunately, he was a prolific writer. So as he traveled, he would write back to these churches and the leaders who were leading them. And we get to do a little bit of like reading other people's mail when it comes to Paul, because many of the letters get included in our Bible. And we're going to read from one right now, which is in the book of 1 Timothy. And he's writing to one of his leaders, who's a younger guy named Timothy. And this is what he says to Timothy. This is in Timothy 4:11 and 5 through 8. Command and teach these things. Let no one look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in your speech, conduct, love, faithfulness, and purity. Until I come, give attention to the public reading of Scripture, to exhortation, to teaching. Do not neglect the spiritual gift you have, given to you and confirmed by prophetic words when the elders laid hands on you. Take pains with these things. Be absorbed in them so that everyone will see your progress. Be conscientious about how you live and what you teach. Persevere in this, because by doing so, you will save both yourself and those who listen to you. Do not address an older man harshly, but appeal to him as a father. Speak to younger men as brothers, older women as mothers, and younger women as sisters with complete purity. Honor widows who are truly in need, but if a widow has children or grandchildren, they should first learn to fulfill their duty towards their own household and so repay their parents what is owed them, for this is what pleases God. But the widow who is truly in need and completely on her own has set her hope on God and continues in her pleas and prayers night and day. I could go on, but we're going to stop it there. I don't think you need to know a whole lot about how to treat widows half world away in the first century. So here's what's going on here. Paul is writing to this leader that he has raised up in this city of Ephesus, and his name is Timothy. And one of the things that you can do with some of these letters, it's called mirror reading. We only get half of the conversation, right? And so what you can do with these letters is you can see, well, Paul is responding to this thing, which means there was a concern going on in the background. So Paul says, don't let anyone look down on you because you're young. Why does he say that? Someone was looking down on Timothy because he was young. We don't know much about Timothy. We don't know exactly how old he is. There's scholars who say that he was in his mid to late teens. And then there's other scholars who say that he was in his mid to late 30s. It's kind of a big gap. But in any case, he was on the young end. And apparently, people in Ephesus, not everybody in Ephesus was happy about this younger guy who was going around and teaching and saying these things. And so Paul leans in and says, listen, don't allow them to treat you this way. You have these gifts. You have this calling. Bloom, my friend. Bloom. Lean into it. You have something to contribute, and it is going to help this church grow, and you are going to grow and thrive in ways that you can't even fully understand. Don't let anyone look down on you because of your youth. But then he also swings back, and he starts talking about the older people in the community. Listen, they have much to teach you as well. They are the story bearers. They have been here before. You have much to learn and grow from them as well. They are the ones whose roots have grown deep, have felt the winds and adjusted their roots to be stronger on the windblown side. If you pay attention to them, you and this community will grow stronger and more vital and vibrant because of it. Both of them are important for the life and vitality of not only him as an individual, but for the church as a whole. So spring is a time when there's a lot of yard work going on. Often that yard work is not in my own yard because I've got a lot going on and I'm kind of lazy too. I look at things out my window and think I should do something with that, and then I don't do it. But my neighbors tend to do a whole lot of work. And we have one neighbor in particular who, when he gets set on something, he goes at it like really hard. So a couple years ago, apparently he decided that he was going to take down a tree in his backyard. This is a tree that is about 10 feet from our fence line, and it's like you can look at it directly out one of our sunroom windows. It's like right there. It looked like a super healthy tree to me. I don't actually know a whole lot about trees or about the health of trees. It looked fine to me, right? But he decided he was going to take it down, and it's not my tree, his tree. He can do what he wants. Well, apparently he didn't want to just cut it off down low and have a stump. So the first plan was apparently to bring his SUV in the backyard and take a tow strap and strap it to the tree, and then strap the other end of the tow strap to the back of his SUV, and he was just going to rip the thing out of the ground. Well, I saw this going on out our sunroom window, and I was not sticking around to see what happened. So we actually left, and we came back. I don't know what happened, but I know that the tree was still there with the tow trap attached to it, and his SUV was not still there. Okay, so that didn't work. That didn't accomplish the purposes that he wanted. So after that, what he did, again, he doesn't want it apparently as a stump. He brought out his pole saw, and he took off like every single limb. So at the end of this work, what we've got here, again, just like in his backyard, but 10 feet away from ours, and looking out our sunroom window, is this trunk with nothing on it that is, I don't know, 10 feet tall, just this bare trunk. And you could even easily look at it and be like, look at that dead thing. What on earth could this thing contribute? But guess what? Life finds a way. And soon after that, and then last year, and again this year, what do you think starts happening? Shoots start coming out. Shoots start coming out the bottom of the tree. Shoots start coming out the side of the tree. Shoots start coming out the top, which has been cut off. These beautiful green shoots with leaves coming out of them, right? Because the roots were still there. The roots were still there. After all of those years of growth and development and like developing that resiliency, the roots were still strong. They were still bringing the nourishment up that trunk. And that was providing the shoots that were not yet there with the life and vitality to grow something new. I like to look out that window. I just looked out that window yesterday as I was finishing up this sermon, and then added it into the end of my sermon, because I was thinking that tree is teaching itself about growth and resiliency. It's teaching the other trees in the yard about what it means to grow and be resilient and to be full of life. And it's teaching me too about what it means to grow and be resilient and be full of life. The church does not have to be in decline. The church does not have to be all roots and no branches. The church does not have to be all bloom and no roots. It can be those two things at the same time. It can be an intergenerational community. And guess what, folks? We've got that going here. Doesn't mean we're doing it perfectly. We could do better, but we have these stories that can and ought to be told about what this looks like just as a part of our small and young and growing community. So two stories really quickly. One is from one of our older partners. And this story is from last spring, last May. We had not yet come outside. We were inside still, and we had an event after church that was Sunday, Sundae, Sunday. You remember this? We had the big ice cream bar. We had it all lined up. So after the service, everybody comes out of the worship center and they dig into the ice cream bar. And I sat down with this person at one of the tables just outside the worship center, and we were watching what was going on. And the adults are talking amongst each other. The kids are running around like crazy because they're hopped up on all the sugar from the ice cream and all the toppings. And she was just sitting there with this huge smile on her face. And she said, "This just brings me so much joy. I'm so happy that I get to be a part of this." She was not sure about this whole new church thing. But then she said to herself, as if God were telling her, "You're the only one who's going to miss out on this." And she is now full of joy because of the young people who are now coming through, running through her midst, almost knocking her over all the time. That's one story. The other story comes on the other end of the spectrum. This is a story of a conversation I had from some of our younger partners, one of my first time spending time with them. And they're in one of those demographic groups that is apparently leaving the church because they have no interest in organized Christianity. And so my question is like, well, why on earth are you interested? Why are you here? What do you love about the Grove specifically? And what they said, they did not say, oh, I love all of the young people. What they said was, we love that this is a truly intergenerational community. That there are people, younger people like us, who we can maybe connect with because they have similar life stage and other concerns like us, but there are older people as well who can teach us things. Again, like, this is a learning curve that we're on. This is a growth point. This is something that we can continue to lean into. It's not something that we're perfect at. And yet it is that slow, meticulous, tedious, sometimes messy work of paying attention to the artwork that we're putting together and saying, how can we do this better? Celebrating and encouraging the gifts of people on the older end of the spectrum and the young. How can we grow deep roots and branches and blooms as well? So that is my prayer for us as a community, that we can be a community that has those deep roots, that also has these strong trunks, that has these spreading branches, that has this coverage, that can provide this place where people outside of the church of all generations can come and experience the grace of God in community. May that be so.
You can hold my hand when you need to let go. I can be a mountain when you're feeling badly low. I can be a street light showing you the way home. If you can hold my hand when you need to let go. Sing, I want a house. Oh, I want a house with a crowded table and a place by the fire for everyone. Let us take on the world while we're young and able, and bring us back together when the day's done. If we want a garden, we're gonna have to sow the seeds, plant a little happiness, let the roots run deep. If it's love that we give, then it's love that we reap. If we want a garden, we're gonna have to sow the seeds. Oh, I want a house with a crowded table and a place by the fire again. Oh, I want a house with a crowded table and a place by the fire for everyone. Let us take on the world while we're young and able, and bring us back together when the day is done. And bring us back together when the day is done.
Just want to take one moment to that second verse we sang about the garden. You're going to have to sow the seeds. There's a lot of people who did that. And we sang that here together, so it's a good reminder that we're spiritually growing goodness, emotionally, connectively, but also physically as well to help others around us in the community. So it's good to be a part of a community that does that, right, Jeremy?
So good transition. There's very few times when I get to like slow down and just kind of take in this thing that we are growing together. One of those was last fall when we had the pop-up pumpkin patch and we had like 1,000 people out here. And I just stood back and I started crying because I was overwhelmed by this thing that we have done. Another was yesterday when I pulled in here and I thought I was going to be one of the first people here to help with this garden project. And there were 12 people here, something like that, all the way from 6 years old, 5 years old, to, we'll just say a higher end of age. And all of these people working together across the generational divide to build this thing that we're going to fill with plants that are going to grow and provide this fruit and vegetables and whatever that are going to be donated to people in need in our community. We're coming together across generational divides to literally grow goodness. And it's just such an exciting thing to be part of and for me to have the privilege of leading. Before we go, we do need to talk about some logistics and some announcements. So if you have this web page up, you can pull that up and look at there's actually 4 announcements this week because we have kind of a big thing coming up this next week. So first of all, June is also a time at the Grove when we do a property improvement campaign. What that means is we have these projects around our property that do not fit under the general budget. And so what we try to do is we use that as an opportunity to talk about these things that we would like to raise money for, that we think would contribute not only to our church community, but to the community as a whole and the people who have not yet arrived. So last year, this stage was that project. This year, we are moving back inside to take on 2 different projects. The first one is having an air conditioner installed. How many of you knew that there is not air conditioning in our building? Yeah, there's not. It actually stays fairly cool throughout the year. However, we have an air conditioning unit in this barn that has never been installed. And so we're trying to get a quote to be able to raise money to be able to get that unit installed so that, yeah, we can use it on Sunday mornings if we need to, if we're not able to be out here, but also so that we can continue opening up our building for the rest of the community to be able to do all sorts of things and to be able to do it during the summer in a comfortable environment. The second thing that we are raising money towards is a new projector. You might have noticed that our projector is not the strongest. It is a hand-me-down projector that allowed us to focus our resources, our budgeted resources, towards other things. However, it is clearly becoming a concern and an accessibility issue. It's hard to see even for people that have good vision. And so that is the second project that we're hoping to take on. If you're interested in reading more about those projects or contributing, you can literally just click on that image and it will bring you to the page that will tell you more. The second thing is Grove Group for Teens. We have teenagers in our midst. Do we have any yeah, I'm not going to count them up. We have a growing community of people that includes teenagers. More and more of those teenagers are coming more regularly. And so what we are going to do is starting on the last Sunday of this month, we are going to be having a Grove Group for Teens meet immediately after the worship service just to connect with one another. And Jordan Wilson, who is often up here next to me, is going to be leading that group. If you are interested in that group, or you know someone in your family who is interested in that group, again, you can just click on that picture and it'll bring you to the page to be able to request more information. The third thing is Partner Party. This is happening on Sunday, July 9th. Anyone who considers the Grove to be their church home is invited to the Kachucks, which is half a mile from here, where we are going to have a barbecue, we're going to hang out, we're going to have fun, and then we're going to talk about some fun church stuff that's important to know. We call it a partner party because it's a type of conversation where if you're a partner where you have committed your time or your prayers, presence, gifts, service, and witness, these are like family type of conversations. I want to emphasize, though, if you're not a partner, you're welcome to participate, but it might feel at times like you're walking into a family barbecue. That's okay. You're welcome to come and kind of see what it's all about, but we want you to put that date on your calendar so that you can plan to be there. And then the last thing, of course, next Sunday is Pride Sunday. Woohoo! We are going to be having a guest preacher, so you don't have to hear from the straight white guy on Pride Sunday like we did last year. We have, let's see, I want to get his name right. John Carlos Diaz Ramos, who is a part of another United Methodist Church plant in Minneapolis, to be coming and preaching for us. We're going to be having Pride Sundays. Yeah, an ice cream bar with Pride theme. We're going to have some other treats as well. Obviously, of course, fantastic music, although someone's trying to recruit me to sing again, so maybe don't call that song fantastic.
Oh, that's good. We need that. Right, guys? We need that.
I did not yet agree to it, but she said if I said maybe, that's a yes. Okay. I think that's all of the details that you need. Saturday gardening. What do we need to know about Saturday? No, never mind. If you're interested in hearing more about the gardening project, one, I would encourage you after the service to go look at this stuff that has been built and is starting to come together. And if you're interested in participating in it more, again, Maggie's over here in the orange hat. Talk to Maggie afterwards. She will find a place and a way for you to get plugged in to this exciting thing. And there's going to be donation requests coming around specific things like 5-gallon buckets and peat moss, right? I don't know all the things she does, and we'll get you the list in case you are interested. Okay, with that, enough logistics. Once again, it was so good to be with you on, and you can extend your hands to receive the blessing for today. As we go from here, may our roots grow deeper and our limbs grow taller and wider, creating a space of shade and rest for all those of all generations looking to experience the grace of God in community. May that be so.